Hey, I had a really good question about how to determine which points to use when you're finding the rise and finding the run from a table of values. And the interesting thing is, it actually doesn't really matter which pairs you choose as long as you choose the same ones, the same pair for the rise and the same pair for the run. So I'm going to do this one 3 different ways. And figure out the rise and the run in each of these. Just kind of maybe scoot these around a little bit so I have some more space. So I'm going to do the rise and the run from each one and find rate of change, doing it 3 different pairs, just so you see it's always actually the exact same thing. So we know the rise is always on the right hand side. So that's our dependent variable. So I'm going to, for instance, maybe for this one, I'm going to pick the 210 and the 290. And it's really just random which 2 I want to pick. So I would say rise equals 290 minus 210, which is 80. Now, once you pick the rise side, you have to pick the matching ones for the run. So now I could not go and pick like, oh, I'll take 0 and 400. No way. You have to pick the same ones that match up, like directly across from the ones you picked for the rise. So I need to pick now the 100 and the 300. So that's my run is 300 take away 100, which is 200. Now, when I'm doing this, the ROC equals rise over run. So rise is 80 over run is 200. And when you divide that out, you get 0.4. Whoops. So that's 0.4. And then I'll do the same thing again, but I'll do different ones, different points from here. So what if I maybe picked like far apart ones? What if I picked the 170 and the 330? And I figured out my rise. So rise is 330 minus 170. And that's 160. Now for the run, I have to pick the ones that match. I have to pick 0 and 400. As long as they're right across from each other, right across from where your rise ones were, then you're okay. So for run, I would have 400 minus 0, so I get 400. So now when I do ROC, or rate of change for this, it's rise over run, and that's equal to 160 over 400. So it seems like it's different, but if you divide 160 by 400, it's also 0.4. So you actually end up getting the same answer either way. And we'll do one more just to kind of make sure that that keeps working out. So I'll do that in a different color. Now, what if I picked 2 really close together? So what if I picked, say, 250 and 290, 2 right beside each other? So here the rise equals 290 minus 250, which is 40. And remember, the run, once you pick the rise, you have to pick the ones right across from them. So across from the 250 is 200, and across from the 290 is 300. So that's the ones I have to do for run. So run is 300 minus 200. 300 take away 200 is 100. And now the ROC is rise over run, which is 40 over 100. And guess what that is? When you divide, it's 0.4 again. So you get the same ROC even if you pick totally different values for the rise and the run. The trick is you have to be super sure that they match up across. like I said before, you could, if you pick the 170, you have to pick the 0. You can't go like 170 and 330, but then 100 and 200, because they don't match up. As long as the numbers match up right directly across from each other for your rise and run, the ROC will always work out to be exactly the same.